Good morning, all of you. In the lecture of Indian economy, part of general studies paper. So, it is the next continuous series of national income that I have already discussed. And this is the platform of Gyan Sagar Civil Academy, situated in Delhi, India. And here, our classes are going on regularly. If civil aspirants and UPSC aspirants, PCS aspirant like the UPPCS, BPSC, RAS, MPPSC, HPSC, and UKPSC and SSC examinations, as well as the academic students want to join us, so they can contact with the administration at that number. And all the detail you can get from the administration from this number. So directly you can contact with the administration as well as through the WhatsApp and Telegram channel, and you will find our videos at Gyan Sagar Civil Academy, at Insta, at Facebook, and YouTube channels and Telegram with the same name, Gyan Sagar Civil Academy. Now we are coming to other topics, and earlier we have discussed about the national income. In that series of the national income, today we will discuss about the some particular terms that are related with the national incomes and coming under this chapter. So, what is the per capita income? First of all, we are discussing here per capita income. Per means one, single. Ek. Capita means individual or person. Income means income. One individual's income is the per capita income. One individual's income is the per capita income. So, per capita income means per capita income equal total national income divided by total population of a country. So total national income of a country is divided by total population, we get the per capita income. In denominators, any value we are putting, so it indicates the per head in denominator. So suppose that the India's population, I think say India's population 144 या 143 144 143 यानी 144 करोड़ 144 करोड़. So we are putting here the value of 144 crore, यानी India's population is 144 crore. And the total national income of the India, earlier I discussed at current price rate, it was 330 lakh crore. Earlier I discussed 330 or 331 lakh crore. So the total in national income, it is the value of the GDP. It is the actually value of the current GDP at the current prices, and the national income will be in the similar manner a little bit from that value. I think it is the 328. So this value is divided by the total population. Total population of India is, I think, 144 crore, and 143 or 144 crore, and this is the value of a lakh crore. Okay, so we get the per capita income. This indicator is the best way to ensure the standard of the living of the people of any country. So there are very indices that are used in the estimation of the national income, in the estimation of the economic growth of a country, but the per capita income is the best measure to indicate the economic growth, to indicate standard of the living of the people. So on that behalf, there are several indices which are used in the estimation of a national income like GDP, GNP, NNP, but the most appropriate index that used in the indication of the economic growth या economic development या standard of the living of a country, that is the per capita income. So here we write best index of economic development is the growth in real per capita income. In real per capita income. Real means constant price. Real means constant price of base year price. Real per capita income among indexes of GDP, GNP, NNP, because standard of living in a country is represented by per capita income. So standard of a country is presented or expressed by the per capita income. Next point, where real per capita income of India is caused by several factors. As much we are putting two values. One is the national income, another is the total population. So how per capita income of India will increase? So whether you increase this value, national income, my means growth increasing, economic growth is increasing, so per capita income will increase. Simultaneously, if we reducing the total population, yani denominator value, automatically will get more per capita income. But India's population is increasing day by day, so we are reducing our per capita income. Why our per capita income is reduced? Because our population is increasing spontaneously or exponentially. And in developed countries, their per capita income is too high. Why? Because their population level is very low. My means this value in the denominator is low. So that we are dividing from the denominator value to this value. So if we are reducing this value, automatically our population will, our per capita income will increase. Another things, the other way to increase the per capita income, we have to increase the numerator value. My means the upper value, the total income se. So slow growth rate in real per capita in income in India is caused by, there are many factors. One and two factors that I have mentioned here. One thing, that is the rapid population increase. In the context of the India, population of India is increasing very rapidly. African countries, their population is also increasing very high and very rapidly. South Asian countries and African countries. But developed countries, I mean European countries and America, their population is constant. So their per capita income is high, but our per capita income is low. Why low? Because our population, yani ki this value is increasing very high. And one point, high increase in prices. In the context of India, we are summarized earlier about the inflation. Our national income या GDP is increasing. How increasing? Due to the inflation, due to the prices, price rise. Not actually the output, increase in the output and the production. But the real terms, if our production is increasing, so our per capita income will also increase. But the in real nominal GDP, we are considering the current year prices. So prices rise is also a factor for decreasing the real per capita income. Next thing that I have mentioned here, growth rate in agriculture and industry. A lot of the people are involved in agriculture sectors and industry. So agriculture sector providing nearly 45% employment to the Indians. And in the similar fashion, industry is also playing a vital role. But the growth rates and their sharing in GDP, GVA is very low compared to the services. And in services, very less persons are involved in the in services sectors. But industry is most prominent things because it needed the raw material from the agriculture, and it also enhanced other industrial sectors, economic activities like the services. So it is the main theme, basic elements for the increasing the growth rates and boosting the economy of any country. So here slow growth rate is another factors. Next point that is I mentioned here, Earlier, lack of foreign exchange was also a factor, but now India became self-sufficient in foreign exchange. Earlier, if you are talking about the per capita income, so earlier foreign exchange was deficient in India. In the context of India, we have not sufficient amount reserved for the foreign exchange. We have not sufficient amount reserved for the foreign exchange. Earlier it was the factor, but nowadays we have the sufficiency in foreign exchange reserve. So it is not a factor for the decreasing for the low per capita income growth rate. And one thing I mentioned here, a high capital output ratio. High capital output ratio is also a factor for the low per capita income. High capital output ratio is the indicator of the economic growth of a country. High capital output ratio is just a measure. It expresses the standard of living of the people of any country. High capital output ratio is ensure the production and productivity of a country. So what is the high capital output ratio? Capital COR. Capital output ratio means COR. That just mentioned here, investment divided by the output. Investment is divided by the output. Investment is divided by the output. Capital output ratio means investment divided by the output. We are just assuming what is the investment, that is the saving. And what is the saving? The amount that remain left from disposable income. The amount that left from the disposable income, means disposable income is we are just deducting the expenditure from the disposable incomes, we get the saving. And this saving we are assuming here, as a investment. So the investments for the GDP growth, this amount is divided by the output. Output here we are considering as a GDP. Output means here we are just assuming the GDP. So suppose that India's investment is 32%, but it varies. India's investments 30 and 29 like that, and our capital formation I think 28 and 29% as a share of the GDP. So investment, our investment या saving, suppose assume that 32%, and our GDP growth rate say 6.7% in the real term in the last year, and this year it will be the 6.8% and 6.9% in the real terms this year, I think so. But it I assuming here also our GDP or output is 8%. So this value is divided by this value, we are getting 4%. This 4% is indication of the capital output ratio. My means for 1 unit of the production, how much capital is required. It is the indication of for 1 unit of production, for 1 unit of value addition, for 1 unit say 1% of the growth of the GDP, how much value of the investment is required. So capital required for 1 unit of production is known as the capital output ratio. Here mentioned capital required for 1 unit. This denominator is also always showing a unit, yani 1 unit. So how much 1 unit output is required in the output is required the investments. So how much investment required for the production of 1 unit of output. So capital required for 1 unit of production is known as the capital output ratio. Another thing, lower the capital output ratio, higher productivity. Lower the capital output ratio, higher productivity of the capital. Suppose that this value is lower, यानी कि capital output ratio is this. So capital output ratio is reduced. Suppose that this is reduced, it will be 2%. It will be 2%. So capital output ratio, lower the capital output ratio, यानी कि I reduce here 2%. Higher productivity of the capital. My means this value, if we are just assuming here, suppose that 32% here our investment, and this value यानी कि GDP या growth rate our is 16%, so we are getting 2%. So here saying the lower the capital output ratio, यानी कि I reduce है lower, यानी कि it become lower, so higher productivity of the capital. So GDP, it's indicating the GDP output is increasing, and per unit increase in GDP per unit production of output required this amount, so its efficiency is increasing. My means the efficient way of the production here. India high capital output ratio, in the context of India high capital, all the developing countries I think say they are having high capital output ratio. My means their GDP growth rate even though high, but their investment is low. Even though high, but their investment is low, the upper value is low in the case of developing countries like the India. But in the case of developed countries, their output या GDP ratio is low, but their capital formation या their investment is very high. So this is value is increased in the case of developed countries, but this value is not too low, but it is up to a certain extent is also high, 6%, 7%, and 5%. So developing countries it also reached to say 7 to 8% like that. So in that case the capital output ratio is high, so it means their productivity is low. Next point है कि how we find this investment. For the investments we have to reach first of all at the capital formation, then we are reaching to the total investment. Suppose that we are talking here about the saving. Here we are talking about the saving. Saving, what is the saving? Disposable income. Disposable income. From the disposable income we are reducing the expenditure. From the disposable income we are reducing the expenditure, then we get saving. Household disposable income, my means the individual disposable income say we are just suppose that some person say earn amount I think say 100 rupees, and he expended 70 rupees for daily routine life, and remaining amount we can say this is the saving. So saving doesn't mean the investment. But little amount of the saving transferred toward the investment. So for saving, capital formation. Capital formation depends over the nature of the economy, depend over the mentality and entrepreneurship of individual in a country. So the amount those and also the business practices and banking and finance services, how much are established and advanced in a country. So these are the major factors which play role in the capital formation. Suppose that household saving is 30 rupees. In some countries 28 rupees is directly transferred to the capital formation. But in some countries little bit amount 5 and 10% is 10 rupees is transferred to the capital formations. So it depends over the banking practices, nature of the peoples in the businesses and commercial and financial activities, and mobilization by the banks and their trust, like that factor playing roles in the capital formations. So these capital formations, I mean these capitals are used for the investments, So this amount, suppose that whole saving is turned toward the capital formation. Suppose that, not completely, but suppose that this is the 30%. So this amount will reach here 30% for investment. If we are adding here finance, foreign investment, if we are adding here finance foreign investment. Foreign investments, suppose that it is 2%. Foreign investment, that is 2%. So we reached at investment. So our investment will be 32% of GDP. Of GDP. It varies a little bit. Some years it will be 29%. Some year it will be 32%. In last few years it was the 32%. Nowadays I think it's reeling below 30, and it will be 28 and 29%. So from disposable incomes we reducing here expenditure. After deducting their expenditure, the amounts that are used by the household, yeah, they are sometimes dumping these amount for with itself, then are transferred in the capitals. They are just not investing in a finance, in a funds and stocks. If they are just dumping these money, these funds, these monetary values, sona, chandi and anything, so they are not used for the capital formation. If they are used and invested in the markets, so they are used as capital formation. Later this amount is made as a used as investments. So these investments is helpful, but it depends over the practices of the economy, how much people are having the trust and they are aligned with the economic activities, financial activities, mobilization by the banks, and their services, attachment with the households, with the banking practices and the services. So these are the major factors for the capital formation and for the investment of economy. On that behalf, we can say how much a capital output ratio is low, and our productivity will be high. Next point, we are here coming. As for concerned the saving, in the last few years, saving increased. In the last few years, saving tendencies increased in the context of India due to our capital formation is high. In other words, if saving tendencies are increasing, people are investing too much money in the businesses and stocks and like that. So our GDP will increase. So saving practices is also driving our growth rate. Saving practices, capital formation, these are very helpful. These are the driving forces for the economic growth, for increasing the per capita income and like that. Next point here I mentioned here, sequence of gross domestic saving. Sequence of gross domestic saving. We are talking only here about the Indian context. Which sector is the major player in gross domestic saving? Which sector is major player in the gross domestic saving? First of all, we are knowing very well that is the household. Household. नेक्स्ट है आपका प्राइवेट कॉर्पोरेट्स. प्राइवेट कॉर्पोरेट्स. नेक्स्ट आई थिंक से पब्लिक सेक्टर. पब्लिक सेक्टर. नेक्स्ट गवर्नमेंट. नेक्स्ट गवर्नमेंट. First of all, household, private corporates, public sector, and the government. One year this question was also asked, which sector is playing major role in the investments? So I think say it is the household. So gross domestic saving of these sectors we are just know it having the most. It having the most. After that. So private corporate is second. And public sector means PSUs like that, and railway and like that things, and governments and government agencies and government departments. Here government means government agencies and government departments. So first of all, say all the amount that is invested, and these are the in the shape of the gross domestic savings made by the household. It is first, and these gross domestic saving, how we expressed here, it reached up to the investment in that manner. So it is played by the role of a household first, later private corporate, and like that. And next national income. Our topics, first of all I discussed here I think say first of all what I have discussed here, per capita income. Per capita income. Next our topic is a national income. National income. In national income, income earned by the normal resident. In what that does mean by the income? Income earned by the normal resident. What is national income? Income earned by normal residents. Normal residents. It will be the government income plus private income. Government income and private income. In national income, we are considering both government income as well as the private income. And here, all the income, total income that earned by the normal resident of a country. So, in normal resident means it included the government firms, government individuals, yani government servant, and private firms, private individuals. So all the incomes of a country and including the both. Here I only because I have already discussed about that things, but now we are describing only government income and private income. This is the focal point here about the national income. One thing that is the private income. Private income. Private income. Here I mentioned about the government and private income. And what is the private income? What is the private income? Income earned by the private individual or private sector, not government. Not government. Here excluding in the government. So income earned and unearned. Private income we are considering total income earned by and नॉन अर्नड. अर्नड का मतलब जो उसने कमा लिया. अनअर्नड का मतलब ही द ट्रांसफर पेमेंट. अनअर्नड का मतलब ट्रांसफर पेमेंट. तो टोटल इनकम अर्नड एंड अनअर्नड बाय द इंडिविजुअल या प्राइवेट सेक्टर is come under the private income. In private income we are not considering the government income. So here we are in excluding the government income in private income. Here only talking about the private income here. And national income we are considering both government income as well as the private income. So write down some point about the private income. It is the total income. What is the private income? It is the total income earned or unearned by total income. It is the total income earned or unearned by the private sector in a financial year. By the private sector in a financial year. So what is the private income? It is the total income. It is the total income of the private sector. It is the total income of the private sector. It will be the earned income or unearned income. It including the both income. But here excluding one thing, that is the government income. Next point, I am just expressing this thing in a diagram. What is the private income? Private income I mentioned here. Earned income of private sector plus unearned income, unearned income of private sector. Easy transfer payment. Easy transfer payment. So earned income and earned income यानी कि कमाया गया हो जो, या जो कि कमाया नहीं गया, मतलब कि जो कि पैसे डायरेक्टली ट्रांसफर हो जाते हैं, जैसे कोई सब्सिडीज हो गया, रिमिटेंसेज हो गया, दीज थिंग्स कम अंडर द प्राइवेट इनकम. And one things I have mentioned here, two difference in national income and private income. Next point here, two differences between private income and national income. Two differences between the private income and national income. In national income, we are considering private and government both, while in private income, we are only considering only private. One thing. In national income, we are considering private and government both. While in private income, we are considering here only private. One things. Another thing, in national income, we are measuring the factor income. In national income, we are considering only factor income, यानी income generated by the factor cost, या factor of the productions, या factor of the outputs, या value addition. But in private income, in case of the private income, we are considering including here transfer payment. We are considering including here transfer payment. Next point, personal income. Fourth topic is personal income. So first of all, today I have discussed per capita income, then national income, and then third one is the private income, and next one is the personal income. So now we are talking about the personal income. What is the personal income? Say? Personal income, it is the total income which is received by household. It is the total income which is received by the household before payment of the personal taxes. Personal income is the total income which is received by the total income which is received by individuals before the payment of personal taxes during a financial year. So what is the personal income? It is the total income which is received by individual or household. So here we write what is the personal income? It is the total income which is received by individual or household ब्रैकेट में बिफोर द पेमेंट ऑफ personal taxes during a financial year. During a financial year. So what is the personal income? It is the total income which is received by household, which is received by the individuals before the payment of personal taxes, during a financial year. Before the payment of the personal taxes during a financial year. And personal income, one thing I have also mentioned here, transfer payment. Transfer payment. We are not including the transfer payment in national income. So personal income will be greater than the national income, because in personal income we are including the transfer payment. Personal income is never equal to the national income. Personal income is never equal to the national income. Why? Because in personal income we are including the transfer payment, but in national income we are not including. One point is here. In national income we are not including the transfer payment, but in personal income we are including the transfer payment. Personal income, here we have the use a formula about the personal income, just like we write personal income equal private income minus income earned but not yet received. Not yet received easy. For example, PF and other ESI and like that facilities. So here PF insurance implies state insurance like that. So what is the personal income? Private income minus income earned but not yet received. Suppose that we are classify with the illustration to the personal income. Illustration. Suppose that here value is gross salary 50,000 and PF and insurance minus 6. Suppose that gross salary is 50,000. And one thing say that I mentioned here, PF and insurance. This amount, suppose that 6,000. And one thing I also mentioned here, only taxes. 1,000 amounts. So this gross salary is indicating the private income. It is indicating the private income. Because in private income, unearned income of the private sector like the PF and insurance, etc. In private income, we are including unearned income like PF and etc. insurance, etc. But here is the private income. PF and insurance is not included here, because personal income means private income minus income earned but not yet received, like the PF and insurance, So from private income we reducing this value 6,000. This value we are reducing 6,000 from the private income. My means PF and insurance 6,000. So we are reducing this value, just subtracting or deducting from this gross salary and from private income. So we are getting how much amount? We are getting, I think, 44,000. So this is the personal income. This is the personal income. So we are talking about here about the private and personal income. What is the difference? In private income, earned income as well as the earned income, यानी कि जो कमाया गया या जो अभी कमाया नहीं गया, मतलब कि वो काम करके कमाया तो गया बट नॉट अभी उसको ट्रांसफर हुआ पेमेंट, बट उसका वो हक है. अच्छा, दूसरी चीज ये कहते हैं कि जो कमाया तो गया बट वो अभी मतलब कि वो अनअर्न्ड का मतलब कि डायरेक्टली उसके खाते में ट्रांसफर हो गया और एक्सचेंज में कोई उसने आउटपुट नहीं दिया. दैट इज द ट्रांसफर पेमेंट. हियर But in case of the personal income, the we are just including here the payment before the taxes. Payment before the taxes. Suppose that our value of the taxes is 1000. Suppose that our value of the taxes of 1000. So before the taxes, so it's mean in personal income we are including the taxes. In personal income here taxes is inbuilt. It's mean person is not able to spend all the amount of the personal income, because he has bound to pay 1000 as a personal tax. Okay, so here personal income means total income which received by the household before payment of the personal taxes. So here we are just subtracting the PF and insurance, because here I mentioned income earned but not yet received. So PF and insurance, these are the income even though earned by the employee, but they have not received it. So here a personal income will be 44,000. 44,000. In this personal income of the 44,000, I think taxes is also included. Taxes is also included that employee have to pay. If we are also reducing these taxes from the employee, I mean from personal income, so if employee pays these taxes, then he will reach personal disposable income. Personal disposable income means after deducting the taxes from the personal income, employee will have amount of personal disposable income. This disposable income is on its of employee, whether he expend or for the household, or purchasing for the lifestyle, for expending for saving, and for depositing in the banking. It depend on household or individuals. So here we are coming again about the personal disposable income. So first of all, I mentioned here private income. Private and personal income, that in the private income we are subtracting or deducting income earned but not received, like the PF and insurance. So here PF and insurance is reduced from this value, we are getting the personal income. If from the personal income we are deducted the taxes, we will get what? Personal disposable income. So now we are coming to personal disposable 4 and 5. Personal disposable income. These incomes are available to the household, to the individual, for its own use. For its own use. Whether he want to spend all money for its own life or deposit certain amount in the bank, it depends on the individual and the household, because they have earlier already paid to the taxes. So they are no bound to pay the taxes, and because here we are deducting the taxes. So from the personal income, whenever we are reducing the taxes, we recharge the value of personal disposable income. This personal disposable income is used in two ways. One is for expenditure of the household, for daily routine life, expending money for the daily routine life, or these are used for saving. So from the expenditure point of view, this amount is either used for the its family use, or for depositing or saving in the bank. And from earning point of, these income after reducing the income tax, this income reach to the household. Where I have to write, it is the total income which is available for use with the household during a financial year. What is the personal disposable income? It is the total income available. It is the total income available to the household for personal use. for personal use. It's the total income available for use with the household during a financial year. So what is the personal disposable income? In a numerical format, we can write here personal disposable income equal personal income minus income tax minus personal tax or income tax, yeah, corporate income tax, like that. So from the personal incomes, we are reducing the amount of the income tax. Then we are able to use this amount as a, suppose that the personal income is suppose that 100. So income tax, suppose that your personal tax is suppose that 30. So 30. The value we will reach here, our personal disposable income will be 70. Our personal disposable income 70 or 70 rupees, या 70%, suppose that, या 70 units, it is not matter. So from the expenditure point of view, personal disposable income will be equal to, expenditure point of view, expenditure plus saving. Suppose that someone is expending 50 rupees and he saved 20 rupees, so his amount will be the 70. Okay, his amount will be the saving. Yani he saved 20 rupees and is expended 50 rupees for daily use, for routine life and livelihoods, and he finally obtained and remain 70 rupees for disposable, and we are reducing in personal income from income tax is deducted from the personal income, then we reached at the personal disposable incomes. Next point we are coming here, that is revision in national income accounting methods. Our next topic is related from the same chapter se, revision in national income accounting methods. Revision in national income accounting methods. Revision in national income accounting methods. CSO is the main agency that estimating the national income. Earlier it was the CSO. Now National Statistical Office is the main agency and core agency that estimating the national income, and they providing the aggregate data related to the inflation and demand supply and GDP growth rates and etc. So now major agency, main agency of India, या Indian government, that calculating, estimating the national income is a National Statistical Office. But earlier it was the CSO, Central Statistical Office, that was the main agency whose work was to estimate the national accounting, to estimate the national income accounting of India. So in 2015, national income accounting methodology was changed. Earlier government of India using national income at factor cost, but in 2015 it shifted at the market price. It shifted at the market price. So we are ending here our lecture, and next lecture we will talk about the revision in national accounting methods. Okay, bye, all the best.